Good morning. Thank you for that music to settle us in. This is a service with many moving parts, and it was very good for my heart and soul to hear that music. Our opening words this morning are a poem by Kaylin Hott called God Says Yes to Me, with a little bit of commentary. I asked God if it was okay to be melodramatic, and she said yes. I asked her if it was okay to be short, and she said it sure is. I asked her if I could wear nail polish or not wear nail polish, and she said, honey, she calls me that sometimes. She said, you can do just exactly what you want to. Thanks, God, I said. And is it even okay if I don't paragraph my letters? Sweet cakes, God said. Who knows where she picked that up? What I'm telling you is yes, yes, yes. That poem has always been a favorite of mine, and it is a favorite of several people I know. And one of the common denominators in the people who really like this poem, I have found, is that oftentimes we're women. Which is not to say that people of other genders might not like this poem. I think there are people of many genders who probably deeply appreciate this poem. But I think it hits a special chord with those of us who grew up socialized to maybe not expect a big, full yes to things. And there's many different kinds of people who have been socialized not to hear a big, full yes to things. And today, we're going to be particularly talking about the ways in which women have been given maybe like a partial yes, or sort of a yes, but there's like some obstacles in the way. You may notice there's a cartoon on your order of service. And it's like, yes, everyone can be on this track, and it's totally fine, and everything's really fair, but it's kind of a half yes. I want to also acknowledge as we move into this service that I know there are a lot of folks who don't even get that partial yes, who don't even get that spot on the unfair track. Right? There's a lot of people who hear a big fat no because of racism, because of poverty, because of ableism, because of transphobia. There are so many people who don't even get anywhere near this track, who don't even get that fake yes. And still, we are still going to fight for a big, full yes. For everybody who's on that track and everybody who's not on that track and everybody who exists in this world that is so shaped by patriarchy and so many other systems that we all learn. We're here for the yes for everybody. So as you hear stories today from your fellow congregants, I want you to be thinking, where are those fake yeses in the stories? Where are those no's? And where can we intervene to make a world of a big, full yes? We are going to start out with our opening hymn. I enjoy it if you rise. I also invite it if it works for you. And we will be singing We Are a Gentle, Angry People, number 170 in your gray hymnal. please stay up as you have. Excellent. For our unison affirmation, it is printed in your order of worship. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. You may be seated. Welcome this morning. Welcome to all of you. It is so good to be together. And I love singing that song that we sang by Holly Neale. She wrote it out of a horrible event that happened, the murder of a gay rights leader in the late 1970s. And it's such a powerful song, reminding us that we are together. And when we come here to gather together, we are singing for our lives, supporting one another for our lives, and loving each other for our lives. This is why we come together. So welcome to First Parish in Bedford, a Unitarian Universalist congregation. Whether you are here for the first time or whether you have been coming here for your whole life, we are so glad that you're here this morning. And there are a few things I want to update about your order of service. As I said, many moving parts. Very exciting. So one switch is that the time for all ages will be Heather Black and Deb Weiner, our Director of Religious Education. And another thing to note is that there will be a stewardship moment, though it is not in your order of service, that will be happening after the time for all ages and the singing of the children to their classes. So get excited for that. Another note is that the blood pressure clinic, someone told me the information. Is it Maureen Riccici? Thank you. Ooh, I thought I stored that in my brain, and I did. Maureen Riccici will be doing the blood pressure clinic after the service in my office, the office of the parish minister. So if you would like your blood pressure checked, please check that out. An exciting thing, I think it's exciting, that is coming up this week is the beginning of this Christian season of Lent. Maybe not everyone gets excited about Lent, but I do. I think it's a nice time to try on a new practice that you maybe have been wanting to try but don't really want to take it on permanently. But the most exciting part is that Fat Tuesday comes before Lent, which is a fun day for enjoying all kinds of good things. And we're going to be enjoying pancakes here at the church for dinner. So for folks of all ages, you're invited to come, have some pancakes. I think we're going to have some other breakfast items too, in case you're worried that you might go into a coma if all you eat for dinner is sugar. And so we'd really love to have you join us. We'll start around 5:30, but come when you can. And we will eat together and have a short ritual to explore what Lent might mean to us Unitarian Universalists.
Hi, I'm Renu Bostwick.
Margaret Jackson
Don LaFrance Linden.
and Doug Mudu, who couldn't be here today. And we're your stewardship committee.
So we want to introduce ourselves as your stewardship committee. So what is a stewardship committee? We organize the annual pledge drive every year, every spring, and you might have heard about it. Did you know that most of the money to run this church comes from all of us? That includes you. The annual campaign asks you all to estimate how much money you can contribute in the coming year and to tell the church. You can turn in a pledge card, you can call the office, and there's even an online pledge form. Your pledge might be anything from $10 to $10,000 or more, depending on your financial situation. At the end of the campaign on April 27th, the total of all our pledges get handed off to the Finance Committee and the board, and they put together an annual budget that the congregation will vote on in June. So the budget is a financial reflection of our values as a community. If you ever look around and wonder why First Parish isn't doing more or why it isn't serving some part of our community better, it's probably because we didn't raise enough money. So starting today, we as your stewardship committee will be communicating with you in all sorts of ways to tell you about the expenses and opportunities First Parish faces next year, how much pledge income we need, how you might think about your level of commitment. Personally, I've been committed to this idea of our collective stewardship because it strengthens our church community. I think about what the world would be like if we didn't nurture such a community where radical inclusion and tolerance are taught. I want this church, which is a beacon of hope and an example of how to live in the world, to be around for the next generation and for all of us now. Our financial stewardship of this beloved community makes the world a better place.
As you may have read in the Parishioner, I'm sure everyone reads the Parishioner, we're still deciding on a goal that's low enough to be obtainable, but high enough to fund everything we want to do. We haven't met the goal in the past few years, so we're hoping this year with a more realistic goal we will. None of us want to go to the annual meeting in June, remember sunny days in June, and sit there and discuss why we can't fund everything that we want to do. So in order to make budgeting easier for the treasurer and the finance committee and the board, please give what you are able and please try to get your pledge in on time. Thank you.
And this year we're taking a new approach to the stewardship drive. It is going to be short and sweet. We are going to start at the end of March, the last Sunday in March, and we're going to go until the last Sunday in April. And instead of the usual kickoff stewardship dinner that you're all used to, there's going to be a party at the conclusion, and your ticket to the party will be your completed pledge. So please make sure to return those as quickly as possible. Starting today and more frequently as time goes by, you'll be hearing from us about stewardship. You'll be hearing from lay leaders about their aspirations that require financial support, and from fellow parishioners about their pledging decisions. We ask that you begin your process of discernment early. Pledge cards and information packets will be given out at church on the last Sunday in March. Any packets that are not picked up at that time will be mailed to you. During the campaign, you'll also be hearing from the ministers about the importance of financially supporting First Parish Bedford. And starting March 31st, that last Sunday in March, we will host opportunities to ask questions and talk with us and others regarding pledging. We will be serving soup, so please plan to join us. We're going to celebrate the end of the annual campaign with the big wrap-up party that I mentioned. Your completed pledge, again, is your ticket for admission. Even if you cannot support First Parish financially, although we hope you can and you will, returning a pledge card telling us that helps our process. So please support First Parish Bedford and give as generously as you can. Please also respect our time and turn in your pledges early. Thank you so much on behalf of your stewardship committee.
And don't forget to check out the insert in your order of service. We're going to be including some of those.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Bob Batt, and I'm a member of the lay pastoral visitors here at First Parish. I'd like to invite those who would have a joy or concern they'd like to share to come forward at this time. And I light a final candle for those joys and concerns we keep in our hearts.
My sisters and I have been lied to. Raised in the 1980s to think that all doors were open to us. We strive to be engineers, scientists, architects, lawyers, doctors, and more. We were told we can do just about anything we put our minds to. But after years in our chosen professions, we learned that's just not true. You see, all my life, I've been told that I can do whatever I put my mind to. And I can do whatever I want with my career. That being female is no longer a barrier. And I grew up in an era where overt discrimination is illegal. I'm grateful to the women and their allies who opened the first doors into male-dominated industries. They should be honored and they should be celebrated, but focusing on those firsts can lull us into thinking that we've achieved parity. 50 years ago, my mother worked for an insurance agency. All the secretaries sat in the front room. They're all women. All the men were insurance agents, and they sat in offices in the back. And the women were told they couldn't even apply to be insurance agents. Nowadays, instead of telling women applicants that they need not apply, discrimination is more insidious than that. Just because it's illegal doesn't mean that it no longer exists. Take my industry, the legal profession, for example. Half of the law school students who graduate today are women. 45% of the associates in law firms are women. But 23% of the partners are women. And 30% of our judges are women. When it comes to salary, women lawyers are paid 77% of what male lawyers are paid. When it comes to courtroom time, men are 3 times more likely to be the lead litigator in a case. When we see statistics like that, we are desperate for some non-discriminatory explanation. Women opt out to raise children. Women opt out to pursue more rewarding jobs that pay less. Women opt out for better work-life balance. Are they? Are they really opting out? Or are they being pushed out? You don't see men opting out to raise children when they have children. We want to believe that discrimination doesn't exist. We want to believe it so badly that we find other reasons for something that disproportionately affects women, or people of color, or people with disabilities. But this desire has really messed with our brains because, particularly as women, when we don't get promoted, or we only get negative feedback, we ask ourselves how we screwed up. We ask ourselves how we can do better. We don't ask ourselves, why am I being asked to be less ambitious or less aggressive or to fix my hair or to smile more? As an attorney, I walk this tightrope daily. I have to manage the biases of judges, of opposing counsels, and of my clients. When I was in elementary school, I had a soccer coach who told us, if you tell me what position you want to play, you're going to play left out. He thought he was so funny, and it is kind of funny. It's a funny little joke, but the message to me and my fellow soccer players was clear. Sit down, wait for your chance to play, and be grateful when you do. Years later, I played for a season on the boys' lacrosse team because there wasn't a girls' team. See? I can do anything I set my mind to. You know what I saw? the boys on the team would badger the coach, telling him they wanted to play and constantly saying, "Put me in, coach," every time a play didn't go well. After a decade of being told to work hard and wait to be given a chance, I had a hard time acting like the boys. So yes, I got to join the team. I had a uniform, I had a helmet, I had shoulder pads. I went to all the practices and all the games. I worked hard and I kept my head down as much as I could. And once, I even started a game. The day before had been a miserable, rainy day, and only about a handful of players showed up to practice, including me. To reward us for our dedication, the coach put us all in to start the game. But he took me out almost immediately, after a player on the other team checked me and knocked me over, head over heels. I got right back up and kept playing. I had the helmet, I had the shoulder pads, it didn't hurt. But the coach took me out almost immediately and he made sure that I was okay. He asked me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm fine." I should have told him I wanted to go back in. But I didn't, because it was against the rules. It was against my rules. That experience taught me that I should ask. And so I have in my legal career. Over and over, I've asked my boss to put me in, coach, put me into the courtroom, pay me comparable to my peers that are male. I heard some yeses, and I heard quite a few no's. Up until 2016, in mid-2016, I was laid off from my part-time job in a small family law firm. The firm needed someone to work a full-time schedule. Thankfully, I met with a group of women colleagues shortly afterward, and they encouraged me to ask my clients if they would like me to continue representing them. So I did. I asked. Some of my clients decided to stick with me, despite the fact that I was putting my law firm together on the fly. I didn't even have an office at the time. But these clients liked my style of representation, which was very different from my supervisor, because I had to walk that tightrope. What followed was a series of successes on challenging cases and the epiphany that my own style of walking the tightrope was perfect for the clients I wanted to work with. According to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, I opted out. I stopped looking for work. But it doesn't feel that way to me. In order to opt in, I had to get out. I had to create my own job. I had to make my own rules. And I love my job because I can help people the way I best see fit. I don't have to put on the costume of some pit bull lawyer. It's good because it's not my style, and honestly, I can't be. It can't be my style. I walk that tightrope of being a lawyer, being a woman in a male profession. So I can't follow the men's rules. And those rules that are imposed on us, on women, those rules aren't really meant for us, for women. They're meant to maintain the status quo. They're meant for everybody else around us, to help them feel comfortable. They're meant to keep us in our places, waiting for our turn. So if we follow those rules we've been given, we're going to keep getting what we've got, and we're going to stay exactly where we are. And in all fairness to the women and men, the wonderful women and men who raised me, they didn't know better. They thought it would be tough to be women in male industries, sure, but they didn't know how to navigate it. It was all new territory. We have that knowledge now, so let's not lie to our daughters. Let's prepare them to ask. Let's tell them it's more effective to ask with a smile and let them decide if they want to smile or not. Let's tell them that being ambitious is going to make people uncomfortable and come up with ways to effectively help them chart their path forward using the information we have about that tightrope. And at the same time, let's not lie to our sons. Let's teach them to be allies in dismantling that tightrope. Allies who aren't satisfied with simply allowing women to sit at the table. Allies who don't interrupt us. Allies who listen to our perspective. I'm reminded of the axiom that when we see hoof prints, we should be looking for horses, and not zebras. And so it is with patriarchy at work. When an industry struggles to maintain a female workforce, when it fails to have significant female leadership, instead of thinking there's something wrong with those women, let's look for what's wrong with the industry and stand by the people who are charting new territory.
I'm so grateful that we are part of a community where we can tell our stories and speak our truths together. Please give as generously as you are able to this morning's offering, that we may continue the many good works of this congregation.
When I first thought about sharing my story as a girl and woman in STEM, I thought I would talk about my obliviousness, about how I didn't get the message that girls were not supposed to be good at math and science, and that I charged ahead fearlessly, not reading the social cues. But I realized that isn't really true. I knew I was in the minority in my honors math and science classes. I knew it, and I felt I always had something to prove. While my demeanor doesn't always show it, I am actually a very competitive person. As I could be as smart or smarter than the boys, and I would prove it. I wanted to know the answers, to do better on the tests, to be better. My image of myself was someone who was exceptional. Recently, I was going through a box labeled High School Sentimental. At the bottom of the box, below the old photos and writing assignments, there was a sheet of paper with a summary of my grades and standardized test scores. It looked suspiciously like something my father put together when I was starting the college application process. The subject tests scores were sorted by year taken and included percentiles. Looking at that data now, I don't think I was particularly exceptional. My grades were mostly Bs, with one C+ in German. Ich spreche nicht Deutsch. My test scores were a mix, some very good and some middle of the pack. I have been struggling to reconcile these numbers with my perception of myself. Was I really exceptional or just mediocre? I went to good schools and earned an advanced degree in a very narrow technical field. I'm a structural engineer, a field that is heavily male-dominated and that interacts with other heavily male-dominated fields in construction. The only time I have ever seen a line for the men's room and none for the women's room was at a work-related seminar. Progress is when there was almost a line at the seminar last fall, but not quite. At my first job out of school, there was only one other woman engineer. She quit a few months after I started, but not before she advised me to leave the industry because it wasn't a good field for women. When another woman was finally hired as an engineer, of course, we became friends and allies. We joked that we needed wives if we wanted to get ahead because we realized the men who were advancing had someone else picking up the slack at home. She ended up leaving the field too. I stayed at that job a long time, almost 9 years. I worked there when both my daughters were born. My mother made it possible for me to continue working because she retired when Sabrina was born and provided childcare with support from my father. Between my parents and the woman I hired to clean my house, I sort of had that wife I needed. I realize how lucky I am to have that support, both the gift my parents gave and the fact that I could afford to hire Cecilia. During that time, I also earned my professional engineering license, but no promotion. It also turned out I was being paid significantly less than my male peers. Upon realizing this, my boss assured me he would try to correct that over the next few raise cycles. And yet, I told myself I was exceptional. Look at me, succeeding in this technical field while also being a wonderful mother. I was Superwoman. And then I didn't get a promised promotion. The expectations of overtime and everything else became too much, and I decided to leave. When I accepted another job with a better title and a higher salary, it took me 3 tries to give my notice. They wanted time to make a counteroffer, a promotion, and a raise, but it was too late, and I was done, although they almost persuaded me. I'm still at that new job 14 years later. I have been promoted several times and manage our local office. Most of the time, I feel successful. It helps that we have many women engineers, many of them in senior positions. I also feel more respected on construction sites and at meetings. People listen and accept what I have to say without second-guessing me. I'm not sure if times have changed or if I have. I don't look as young as I used to. Maybe the gray hairs and middle-aged frump help. Regardless, people listen, and somehow I can be the expert in the room. And yet, there's still that box with those B's. The problem with thinking you need to be exceptional is that it opens the door to self-doubt. What if I am not exceptional? How did I get here if I am just mediocre? Do I deserve this? Have I really earned this place? Maybe I am reading too much into those grades. My daughter Natalie assures me that grade inflation is rampant these days, so I shouldn't compare myself to those perfect college applicants of 2019. But why do I think I need to be extra special to succeed? Was it rumors that standards were lowered to get more women into my freshman class at MIT? Was it the subtle message about girls and math that I wasn't as oblivious to as I thought? Was it seeing men get promoted when I didn't, knowing that they were better paid than I was? Or maybe it was when I was pulled from project engineer on a big project after I told my supervisor I was pregnant. Why did I feel like I had to prove I was more than good enough? And how do we change this for the next generation of girls and women? These unreasonable standards are exhausting. I think part of the answer is increased representation. I do see more women working as contractors, construction workers, and architects on construction sites than when I first started, and it does change things. I can't really cite specific examples, but the atmosphere feels different. Going from a firm with very few women engineers to one with a high percentage of them also made a real difference. The other piece is support for parents. Unfortunately, for most heterosexual couples, the mother is often the default parent, planning and managing the complex pieces of family life. My parents' gift of childcare meant I never had to worry about missing work because of a sick kid. Having the resources to hire help was a big deal. Unfortunately, these aren't systemic solutions. I am very lucky, and most mothers aren't. Maybe if we can create a sane model of how to exist in the professional world, women won't feel like they constantly have something to prove. I am tired, and I am ready for change.
All right, are y'all ready for a challenge? It's not as hard as dismantling the patriarchy, but it is gonna be hard. We got this though. So we're gonna have a closing song, and it's a song called Quiet by an artist called Milk. We're gonna be playing the music, and we're gonna be showing lyrics up there, and there's gonna be some singers singing, and you can join in on any part that works for you, but it is a little bit of a like complex song. It's not like the easiest sing-along. There's one part that repeats where the main voice is gonna go, I can't keep quiet, no. We don't expect you to do that. I'm not gonna do that. I just did it that once. We can say any kind of no we wanna say, like no, 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 no. Whatever no's work for you, just sing those no's. And don't worry about the fancy stuff. And then there's a harmony part that we're also going to invite you to sing along with. And it goes, let it out now, let it out now. So let's try that one time together. Let it out now, let it out now. Yeah, I know we're going to get this. Okay, cool. So I think we got this. Hold tight. Singers, take your spots.
Put on your face, know your place. Shut up and smile, don't spread your legs. I could do that, but no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, if I just lie still, would I be that monster, scare them all away? If I let them hear what I have to say, I can't keep quiet, no. I can't keep quiet, no. Oh, one woman riot, no. I can't keep quiet for anyone, no, not anymore. 'Cause no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, take that dry blue pill. They may see that monster, they may run away, but I have to do this. I can't keep quiet, no. I can't keep quiet, no. One woman riot, no. I can't keep quiet, I can't keep quiet, I can't keep quiet. Let it out now, let it out now. There'll be someone who understands. just let it out now, let it out now. Must be someone who understands. Let it out now, let it out now. There'll be someone who understands. Let it out now, let it out now. I can't keep quiet, no. I can't keep quiet, no. I can't keep quiet, no, no. I won't keep quiet.
There are so many necessary no's. No to keeping quiet when our voices are needed. No to the patriarchy that tells us there are only two options, to be men or to be women, and that one of those options is better than the other. But yes, to every single one of us, no matter our gender identity or expression. Yes, to every single person in this world, bringing their full selves, bringing their gifts that they have to offer, being valued and compensated and treated with that inherent worth and dignity we know we all have. Here's to building that world of yes, yes, yes.